real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
And good afternoon, good morning, it's good morning. I made a mistake there. See, I start the day with mistakes. That's okay. I make a mess, then we clean it up to progress. So here it is. It's Friday, October 22, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode number 176. We've done 173 weeks in a row. That's what today is. We have not missed a week. We missed one Friday out of those 173, but we did it on the Saturday. And I've got one of the great coaches in this country and great speaker. Scott, you've been all over the place. You're a true educator in this business. Scott Einbinder. Scott, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for inviting me, Dave. It's nice to have a fellow New Jersey person to speak with.
That's right. We're in New Jersey. We're here, right? We're both on the East Coast. No time issues. Scott, I just want to give a little bit more about you. You're one of the things that people remember, and that you're known for a little bit, is that you were one of the startup founding executives of YHD Foxtons. A little bit more about you. You've spoken, I think, at every convention, regional and national, that I've ever heard of, right? And you only work with top agents. So, number one, I want to thank you for coming on. Number two is a question I ask everybody when we start this broadcast. So if you've watched, you know what the question is, you know the answer. The last two people in a row have gotten the answer correct, which is really blowing my mind. So what does TGIF stand for?
What does TGIF stand? Well, it's I'm sure it's not Thank God It's Friday, right? It's Thank God It's Finale?
Yes, 3 in a row. How about that?
It
is Thank God It's Finale. And that's why we're here, right? Because the idea is to give value back to our real estate brethren, to everybody in this business, in this industry, to give as much as we can. We've had local people, we've had national people, we had international coaches. Now we got another international coach, and here you are, Scott. So Scott, I start every broadcast. I want everybody to learn a little bit about you and tell us how you started and how you got to where you are to being, the one of the most sought after speakers in the real estate industry.
Well, my decision to get into the real estate business wasn't really my decision. My mother and father were in the real estate business. I often say, I'm 57. I've been in the business for 57 years. My mom and dad had started in the real estate business, and I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be exposed to the business through them. They had started a Century 21 franchise. And over the years and through my youth, they built it up to a pretty significant company, and I ended up joining the company, and ultimately it ended up getting sold to Merrill Lynch. It was acquired as one of the top 100 real estate companies in the country. And then I navigated. I was required to sign a non-compete, and I navigated into the mortgage business. And I was lucky and opened up a mortgage company and had a good deal of good fortune there as well. And roughly about 10 years later, a subsidiary of Chase Manhattan Bank acquired my firm. And then I made my entry into the real estate space, where through circumstances, I heard about a startup company. A guy was looking to start a discount real estate firm. Discounting was interesting to me, although all of my experience had always been on the premium side of the equation, premium commissions, premium value, all these things. What was discount all about? It was intriguing. So the forces came together, and I joined with them pre-launch. The company was launched as YHD in late 1999, early 2000. And in roughly 3 years, which was my tenure with the company had grown to about 350 employees. We were closing roughly 500 homes a week. And everything was at least looking really good. Again, the company was still had a negative burn rate, although that's not unusual because most startups, don't make money. And, Amazon lost money for 6 years before it was profitable. So it all looked great. However, I just didn't believe the future of real estate was discount. Right. So against all advice, I left. And when I left the firm, not really sure what my next move was going to be. I got a phone call from a broker who said, "Hey, Scott, can you tell me a little bit about, what you guys are doing over there at this discount company? Because you're really kind of rocking our boat." We went there. I went there. I gave an hour presentation on my thoughts of why I think most agents, traditional agents, are failing, why they've been so poor in competing against us. And I gave kind of a sermon on how to really overcome discount competition. Who better to hear it from than somebody who's inside that bubble?
Right.
From that, another broker called me, said, "Hey, I heard you did a seminar over at so-and-so's office." I'm like, "I did." They go, "What do you charge for that?" I made up a number, and here I am 19 years later.
Awesome. So this is something that's agents are looking at, and they see all these different broker models. Now, we'll get into this in a minute, but I want to talk about models of brokerages and how they work and how they fail and how they don't make any money. I always said, when I was a broker owner, I always said, "Why do you think they call us brokers?" Right?
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of agents that want to have their own shop. They want to open their own business. They want to be their own broker. Sometimes I think it's for ego. Sometimes I think it's because they believe they're going to make a lot more money. And sometimes they just want to do their own thing. And that's, I think, the right reason. I think everything else is the wrong reason. But I want to get back to the YHD Foxtons stuff really quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's important for some people to understand a simple process. I believe that all of the agents there were taught. And I want you to go, I'm going to state it, and I want you to go into it a little bit. Is one of the things that we heard and we learned, and I learned through the years, because I was a broker owner at the time, was that they would go in and do their presentation and always, kind of like warn the seller what other people were going to say about them, right? And they were told that they're going to say how terrible we are and this, that, and the other thing. And that would always be, the straw that broke the camel's back, where YHD or Foxtons would get the listing and the other people wouldn't. Talk to me about that and what the—
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing about the real estate business is, while the real estate brokers don't take kind to competition, right? Whenever a new brokerage opens up, nobody's welcomed with open arms. It's a very contentious situation, no matter what the company is. When Foxtons came along, when YHD came along, because no company had ever put the commission out there like we did. Listen, YHD Foxtons, we did a lot of things wrong, and not wrong, just our strategy wasn't right in certain ways. But there was a lot of interesting things that came from that. First off, the one thing that it revealed back in 2000 was that agents were very, very uncomfortable talking about commissions to homeowners. It is, and still are. Most agents are very, very uncomfortable when they talk about commission and they talk about price. Two of the most important areas that you have to articulate to a seller about: price and commission. Agents, it's like a surgeon who thinks they're a great surgeon, but they just don't like blood and incisions, but they think they're great. Okay. So the reality is that back then, the traditional full service agent was very uncomfortable talking about commissions. Then a company like ours comes along. We put the commission right out in front of the homeowner. That was our leading thing. In fact, we even put it on the lawn sign for a while. So the idea was, we would say to a homeowner, "Listen, we're going to give you some ideas. We're going to talk to you about what we do. But keep in mind, we encourage you to invite your local realtor, your friend who's an agent. We, bring them in. But I just want you to know something. When you mention us, and we encourage you to do, you're going to hear a lot of negativity. They're going to tell us we're horrible, terrible, it'll never work. And just so you know, when you hear that, you got to ask yourself the question, because is the agent talking about their value, or are they talking about why somebody else isn't good?" And the homeowner would sit there and they think, "You know what? Mary's our friend. She would never talk that way before." Mary would come in, almost assuming she was going to get the listing. YHD or Foxes would come up, and Mary would then kind of rip them. And the homeowner would sit there going, it's exactly what they said they were going to do. And the traditional industry handed us credibility on a silver platter every single time they bashed us. And by the fast forward today, it still works the same way. When you try to bash your competitor by talking negatively, all you're doing is you're elevating their credibility.
Absolutely. And it's a lesson to be learned about people to not get upset at the haters, right? Because the haters help you. It's like when I was recruiting agents, I would find out that, the broker at their weekly meeting would talk about me recruiting the agents. And I always wanted to pick up the phone and say, "Thank you so much for talking about me today." Yeah. Right. And that's kind of the thing that happened. So, all right. So basically the discounting thing wasn't going to be a good thing. And you talked a little bit
And
about
just one thing, Dave, the whole word of discounting, the reality is the traditional industry, discounted real estate. Most agents are discount brokers. Let me give you an example. You go into a listing appointment, and let's say you're trying to obtain 6% from your seller. And the seller says, listen, I'll list with you at, I'm really not comfortable with your 6% price. I'll do it for you at 5. And the agent says, okay, what did the agent just do?
just
The agent
discounted
just
his price.
discounted their commission. Okay. So discounting is a mentality, but yet in those circles, they call it as negotiating, but yet it's the same concept. Discounting is discounting is discounting. No matter what words you choose, it's a mindset.
So let's take that one step further. So as we were, huddling to see how we were going to combat YHD and Foxtons,
Right.
some people would say what they're not, a discount means they're getting the same service for a discounted price.
Right.
It's like, okay, so you go into a discount or you're getting it for wholesale, right? And what we
absolutely,
said was,
Dave, the reality is that in many cases, the comparison of services, first off, there are certain services that no longer have any value. So when you try to throw your devalued service into your value package and try to justify your price on that, it really doesn't apply. And the other fact of the matter is that there were many and are many traditional agents and brokerages that actually provide less value than discount services. Now, keep in mind, when I left that operation, my whole mindset was I had a better appreciation for the traditional broker, the valued broker. But what we had to do is we had to provide other things, and that the business was evolving. So the reality is that having lived in both the premium real estate world and the quote unquote lower commissioned environments, my appreciation for the other side, the value, grew even greater, because I knew that the consumer would be willing to pay anything, quite frankly, if they knew they were getting the value, and the value was going to be unique, different, and value add. So the reality is that, agents who struggle earning premium commissions, they're struggling because they have a disconnect with what the sellers and buyers really want today. It's because there's no real structure and no real progression into what they need to bring to the table for people. And if they do, commission doesn't become your uncomfortable conversation. It becomes the conversation that you look forward to.
Exactly. So basically, the way I take what you just said is like, and it's the same thing for all of us at any type of presentation, any type of sales, any type of anything, you're there. The number one thing really, and what I try to get through to my clients and stuff, is you're there to help them. You're there to help them through the process of selling their home, buying a home, whatever it is. And you got to meet them where they're at. And that is, you cannot keep telling them stuff, right? You can't tell them what they need. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to meet them where they're at and find out what they want. Once you do that, then you can go to the next level. Would you agree with that?
Again, I have a little bit of a amendment to that. Okay.
Sure.
I don't really think our role is to give sellers and buyers what they want. I think we have to educate them on what they need, right? And and a lot of agents don't even know what sellers need, or it becomes, let me feed into their wants. Let me appease them. Let me appease their want, rather than really provide them with an understanding of what they really need. And again, I don't believe our job as a realtor is to help people alone. That's like an easy, and then there's an expression that I use and I bring to all my clients. It's called net dollar specialization. Are you a net dollar specialist? How do you, as a real estate professional representing sellers, and I lean into the listing side of the industry, what is your strategy, structure, and process to bring me a higher net dollar than a competitor who might be a good competitor, might be a well-respected competitor? Let's not talk about competing against others that are weak. Let's talk about how do we compete against others that are strong. So when I sit down and I ask most agents, tell me, what's your net dollar strategy for clients that are an advantage over your competition? I get a blank stare. Most agents
Say
don't
that,
have
say that again. Say that again, because that was really cool. That was
I'll
really
ask an agent, tell me what your net dollar strategy is to deliver to your seller that is an advantage over what another good agent might be offering to that particular homeowner. So you're in a competitive situation for a listing. The seller is listening to 2 or 3 agents who all have good reputations. They're all nice people. They all sell houses. But who has a net dollar strategic approach that I, as a homeowner, believe is going to be delivered to me more than what the other 2 agents are providing? Most agents have no net dollar strategy. There's nothing they do to quantify what could result in a higher net dollar to me as a homeowner. And that's kind of the world that I kind of navigate in, is developing, infusing, and really helping agents articulate, companies how to articulate their net dollar benefit as opposed to the other opportunities they're considering to list. And so at the end of the day, the seller makes the decision, A, because they like the agent, B, they like the reputation, B, they get all the tools and all whatever. But the variable is, what is the value added benefit of me engaging with this particular agent? And most agents have no value added benefit. They think it's value added. But when I ask agents, and I do it all the time, I go, tell me what's your value added benefit. You know what they tell me? I'm honest, I'm reliable, I've been in the business 20 years. I go, no, that's not value add. That's called expectation. And then they say, well, I'm going to do marketing, advertising, photos. I'm going to send the drone up, in, out, and around the house. All these things. I go, wait a minute. That's core services. You can get core services from any discount broker on the planet. What's your value add? What's your differentiation? Get a blank stare. So that I have found to be the difference in the business, you know, in terms of what's out there. And that's kind of where, you know, where I think agents are struggling.
So I think the question that is begging to be asked here is, what is net dollar strategy? What is an example?
So here's an example. So basically, you know, most agents are trained, coached, advised, directed to talk to sellers about what their house could sell for, right? It's always about the top line number, right? Sellers say, what's my house worth? We give them an answer. Sellers say, what's my house worth? What do you think we can get for it? Agents do a CMA, which has been around for 50 years. Agents articulate home values based upon what they think they could get for the seller's home, top line number.
Right.
We all know, and if you've been around this business for a minute, we all know every number that comes out of the mouth is nothing more than a guess. Some guess better. Some are better educators with guessing. And we have this whole concept at the listing, you know, what's list price, you know, listing. Somehow there's some list. And we all know that the top line number is nothing more than either it's a guess, or it's an educated guess, or it's an opinion. But at the end of the day, every real estate agent who's hooked up to a lie detector will admit they have very little control over top line numbers, right? Because the market will determine what the market will do. But the net dollar is really what the seller's walking away from with closing, right? At the end of the day, if you ask the seller this question, Mr. Seller, what's more important to you? Selling your house for the most money or netting the most money out of the opportunity in your property? They'll all default to net. So what does that mean? It means what those net proceeds are going to be when I walk away from that closing table from the closing. Now, we all know that there's a variance. There's a variance between list price and ultimate contract price. Then there's another variance between contract price and post-inspection price. And then there can be another price between post-inspection negotiation and closing, right? So during the course of a transaction, right, we know that the value we bring to the table as an agent is all the things that we do to preserve net dollar, to preserve the cash. But agents don't think this way. It's just, let me get on the contract. So the idea is when you have a better focus on net dollar strategies, tangible things that you do pre-listing, at listing, post-listing, pre-negotiation, during negotiation. There's many actions, services that we can bring to the table that will lean into a better net dollar solution at the closing table. But the real estate business is random, you know? Most agents, they let the deal just happen and see what happens. And the whole business, Dave, is built on a reactionary mindset to issues. We react to problems. We react to situations with sellers and buyers. React, react, react. Kind of the world that I've tried to create in terms of my business and my clients and everything that I've done has been a 100% pro-action, meaning everything that we do is pro-action in terms of everything. Pro-action with marketing, pro-action with contracts, pro-action with listing, pro-action with the transaction, proactive with all the things that we know that could happen. We proactively design strategies to minimize and reduce the risk of them happening. What's the net result? Higher net dollar for our seller. This is a different level, in my view, of sophistication of not only how you position yourself to get business, but what you do when you get business and how you manage that entire process. So, that's kind of the long explanation to a short question.
So, okay. So we talk about the highest net dollar and here, I think one of the issues, which is really on the surface and doesn't have a lot to do with that, is most agents, especially in this area that I work out of,
right,
are afraid to give a net sheet. They're afraid to talk about net dollar.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and again, and not only, Dave, are they afraid to talk about it, because it really, that to me reveals some level of, let me give you another scary question. You ready for this one?
Sure.
Do you know most agents don't even know how to calculate closing costs? Think about it. They sell houses. You ask an agent, so tell me, if you're going to list a house for $500,000, right? And we gave them certain dynamics. We gave them the tax, what the taxes are, what the per diem interest was. Agents they don't even know nobody knows even what it costs to buy or sell the product we're selling. Well, the attorney will figure that out. Let the loan officer come up with that one. I mean, this is not complicated math. This might be third, probably second grade math, but agents don't go there. So the idea is that, when you do a net sheet, if you don't even understand on your own how to do second or third grade math to calculate closing costs and learn how to do it, how can you even get close? And by the way, when you do a net sheet, it would be nice to be able to put different variables that could happen that could affect that net sheet as well. So you're right, Dave. It's really, it all comes down to, like most things, it's fear of the unknown, fear of understanding, and fear usually defaults to not doing. And that's, I agree with you. In my opinion, a net sheet should be mandatory. That's signed off on, making sure that the person who's providing you with the service understands the dollars associated with the transaction.
So, well, let me just play from different things I've heard in my time here on this planet and in this business. Well, you know what? I don't want them to see the commission, or one of the answers will be, well, I don't know how to do a net sheet.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want them to see the commission. Well, that means they're fearful of that. Maybe they think they are getting too much money.
You know what, Dave? I have another answer for that one, and I apologize for jumping in quickly, but
jump in, man.
I don't blame the agent for that. I don't blame an agent for one thing. You know who I blame, Dave? I blame the brokerage. I blame leadership. Leadership in this business they're the ones not held accountable to it. I meet agents every single day, and I sit there and I listen to them and I go, how on earth has this person been in this business for 3 years and don't know that? I don't blame them. I'm not angry at them. I look at their broker, their manager, their owner, and say, and you know what? That's where the breakdown is. The breakdown is that everything, in my view, that agents do right, blame the broker. And everything that agents do wrong, blame the broker. Because you're allowing these individuals to go out into the street and engage with the public in a manner that is not acceptable. So when I think that's an important thing, and I don't think we talk enough about it, because there's a certain dysfunction that exists in our industry between brokers and agents. And I think that it's an important conversation to take place.
So, all right. So blame the broker, blame the broker, blame the broker. Okay. So, what about agents that, I'm going to play again, devil's advocate here. What about the agent that thinks, well, I don't need their help.
You know what? If I'm a broker and I have and I provide training and I have sales meetings and I have compliance meetings, and these agents don't show up, they don't go, they blow it off, they don't appear, that is a endorsement of the broker to continue to behaving badly. I just don't think it's right. I think that when you have an agent working under your brokerage, I think that you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but to the public to make sure that you're putting people out in the street who are going to do it the right way. And if they're doing it the wrong way, they're under your umbrella. You can't absolve yourself from the responsibility. And I can tell you that I know brokers who, when they have a sales meeting, they get 100% participation. You know why? They've set that dynamic and they've set that way of doing business with it. And if you don't want to comply, which only helps the agent and the customer, then they invite them to no longer be part of their organization. And if I think more brokers had that mindset, what they'd end up with, they might end up with a lower headcount, Dave, but they'd end up with more profits. Just like the story you were telling me before we got online. There's this intoxication in our business to recruit. The intoxication of bodies, recruit. All you see online is recruiting. It's like a drug, right? You never hear about retention. I've never seen an ad or a meme from a broker that says, congratulations, we've retained 47 agents this month, right? No one talks about retention.
You don't see that. No.
It's always about recruiting. And it's the intoxication of recruiting, in my view, that not only currently continues to make it harder, it's always been. And I think that, again, going back to your question, the agent that blows it off, by allowing them to blow it off, you endorse it.
But this is what the industry is all about, though, Scott. I mean, look, when I was a broker owner, you bring new people in, well, I don't go to meetings.
Yeah. Dave, here's the thing. You just said the magic word. Dave, you just said the magic word. When I was a broker, okay? If you're a broker now, okay, again, the broker sets the tone for the office. If you got bad attitudes, that's your fault, right? If you've got, I know brokers, quite frankly, Dave, when behind closed doors, they say to me, Scott, I would never have anyone in my agent ever list my house, but yet they all work for them, okay? And then they all kind of pretend this whole family thing, we're one big family. It's those big family parties, but yet behind the closed doors. So if you see, I always think, and I think that, my folks had a business. The one thing I saw at a very young age is my folks never looked at the business as broker and the independent contractor person. It was always viewed as a partnership. They had a partnership relationship with their associates. And when you have a partnership, partners both have to give and both partners take. And and partners have to be transparent with each other, and partners have to call them out when things aren't working well. And that's what partnerships are. And so this concept of independent contractor, do what they want, happy that they're in my brokerage and I'll get some money either in some commission share or cap model or fees, whatever it is. And then there's a disconnect on what they're doing and how they're operating and how they're really upping the game and providing the highest and best service to customers. The other memes you never see in our industry, Dave, is you never see customers, right? You don't see enough clients, right? We see agents walking slow-mo through their listing, right? We have agents, ringing the bell every time they make a sale, right? We have agents who are giving their stories, but the only one that really I think kind of matters out there is the clients, right? You don't hear enough client stories. You don't hear enough clients getting online and talking about their great experience with their agent and what the special arrangement. You don't hear about that. You don't hear sellers talking about their experience. Just don't hear it. Now, I don't know. I have theories as to why, but I just don't think there's enough of it, and because it's become all about, self-branding, that word has been beaten down to death.
That's crap.
How to brand, how to this and that. And I think at the end of the day, we've got all these amazing training classes, but all these crazy training classes, if your agent doesn't know how to initiate relationships, nurture relationships, how to bring value add to sellers and buyer, how to overcome commission objections, how to overcome pricing objections, how to really do the most important things, all these other things are just kind of exercises in futility. And it's just, just trying to pacify them month by month to keep them in their brokerage.
So let's talk about the visibility of the agent, the visibility of the client, the visibility of the
Yeah.
business, right? And what we see on social media. And I'll tell you a little quick story. What I do every day is I go through my social media feed, and my target audience are real estate agents, no question
Yeah.
about that,
Absolutely.
right? And I go through the feed, and I do a lot of things every day to promote what I do to help people. And what I've seen mostly is when agents are on social, they're telling people that they just got a new listing, they just got a new sale. Thank
Right.
God for this loan officer who did this and this title guy who did this. And my
Right.
team is great, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
My comment on their stuff, because it's my job to get into their feed, and no question about that. I know what my job is. I know what I need to do to expose myself and to engage is to engage. How do I engage? I asked them, great job. Tell me the story of your client. Tell me tell me that story, right? And I'm going to tell you that 70% of the time they just reiterate how great a job they did.
Right.
We're not seeing the story, as you said, of the client, because I believe
Yeah.
social proof has nothing to do with telling people how great you are. It has to do with what other people say you are great.
Absolutely right. I mean, one of the downsides, I always say of like a Zillow review, and everybody's, got to get those reviews. It's a review, there's a name there, but a lot of people don't read through it. I mean, why not, instead of getting a Zillow review, or in addition to, why don't you get a video testimonial from your client of what an exceptional experience they had and post that? Now, a lot of agents will say to me, "Oh, my client doesn't want to go online and do that." Well, if you don't ask, they definitely won't. And a lot of, if you ask them correctly, they'll be happy to do it. In fact, it's a compliment to do it. And what better validation of what we do comes from other people, right? When it's funny, when people ask me, they go, "Scott, why should we hire you?" I get it all the time. A broker, a big company, a small company, an agent will say, "Scott, your investment is very high. I mean, how can justify that for me?" I go, "Well, I'm not going to justify it for you. I just want you to start calling around. I'm not even going to tell you who to call. Start calling. Let them tell you. Let them let go. If I give you a reference, right? I know what they're going to say. So I just say, start dialing. You'll hit somebody who knows me, who's worked with me. Let them tell you how they felt about the experience." And that's a pretty powerful statement, right? I mean, there's no better way. So now, when you're on a listing appointment and you're trying to justify your commitment, you get all nervous. And, why not say, the investment to, I don't like to use the word commission. I like to use the word investment to be retained. And you say to the homeowner, well, here's the thing. I've worked with many people in your area, and they've all given me authorization to allow you to call them as a reference on the experience they had with me, both on my commission and non-commission way of doing things, and was I worth it at the end of the day? Please, here are their numbers. They've moved, they're here, whatever. Feel free to call anyone that you'd like to get that validation. Only a very few agents ever do that, Dave. Very few will ever have the courage. So it's just the way you think about it. It's the real deal. You know what I'm saying? You got to focus on the real stuff, not all the bells, like the bells and whistles. I'm not into the bells and whistles. I'm into the engine, the thing that makes it work.
Okay, so we've talked about the brokerage models. We've talked about discount models. We've talked about, one of the things I didn't say before is, one of the words we used to throw in there was limited service, right? Yeah. So we threw that in there, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about,
which by the way, many traditional agents give limited service. I mean, in fact, Dave, do you know, for 40 years, as long as I think NAR has been running reports on the experience with buyers and sellers, that survey they do every year, do you know the number one complaint? And it's been the number one complaint for decades and decades and decades. Agents don't return phone calls. Right. Agents don't. In fact, do you know who agents dislike the most in a transaction? Other agents. If you ask agents, what's the part of the business? Oh, dealing with other agents. Now, if other agents aren't interacting well with you, how do you think they act with clients? Again, all acceptable methods of doing business, because nobody wants to let anybody leave their office. There's the intoxication to recruit and the fear of having an organization with high quality service to clients. And, and so that's kind of the, the perspective.
So it's when it comes to commission, when it comes to all that stuff, it is fear. It is fear. It's the fear of losing. It's the fear of telling people how much you're making. So let's
and lack of confidence in one's own value. If you're going to lower your price, it's only because you don't have the confidence and don't have the real services to substantiate it.
Okay, so let's go to that point.
Yeah.
Lack of confidence. You don't have the services, or you don't know what those services should be. Like you said earlier, you ask an agent what their net dollar specialization is.
Yeah.
Right. So you're a coach, you're an educator, you speak all over the place. How do you approach the coaching, training, educating of an agent to get to that point, to remove the fear, remove the doubt?
Sure. So the ultimate way to remove fear and doubt is results, right? Results at the end of the day. The only reason why I have been very fortunate in this business, it's not because of this pretty face, although that should be enough, right?
I agree.
The only reason is it should be enough. But the only reason is when that 1099 is printed on December 31st, agents see it. So the results will do the cut, but that might be months down the road. When you go into a listing opportunity and you start using some new language, new scripting, new strategies, and you get a seller who responds positively to that. Imagine you are even a seasoned agent. Again, the majority of my clients are seasoned people. They go into a seller's home. They know they're competing against 2 or 3 other people who they always compete against. And when a seller says something to them like this, after an agent just delivered some new strategies and new things, and the seller says, I never thought about that before. That's pretty unique. That's different. I mean, I like you and I like the other agent and I like the other one and you all are successful, but you're giving me something that I've never heard of before. And it really sounds to me that you have a very well thought game plan specifically that I can understand. It's very specific, it's detailed. And I like that. And when you win that listing at a premium commission, when you were instinctively willing to lower your commission just to get it, and you get it at a premium and the seller loves you, boom, the confidence engine is already in effect. So it's the result. And then when you deliver and the seller sends you a closing gift, after you just got a tough listing and you charged a 2% more than any other agent was competing for, you know what? That's called proof of concept. And I can sit here and tell somebody all day long what to do and how to do it. But once you do it and then you taste it, it's a completely different feeling. And you're off to the races. And that's how you do it. That's how you get confidence.
So, okay. So is it what I coach and teach and train? I call it the art of differentiation.
Yeah.
Do you have to be different in order to do it? Or do you have?
Yeah. Because remember, the services that you just mentioned, I call them core services. Right. I could list, there's 1.3, 1.4 million realtors. Let me tell you what you get when you hire 1.2 million of the 1.3 or 1.3 million. You get MLS, photos, video, advertising, social media platform. And then you get, those are the core services. And I can get those core services, Dave, from anybody. Now, some of them might be a little bit better. Like I know some agents go, well, my photos are much better than the other person's photos. My photos have the light gleaming in and the other photos. And I hear it, it's an argument about, okay, well, that must justify a $36,000 differential. Like you hear these minor differences in core services. So again, at the end of the day, if you're competing with the same core services as somebody else and you're trying to earn a premium commission by offering pretty much the same package. I mean, if it's the same water bottle, this is $4, this is $2. It's the same water, same bottle, same cap. This might have a prettier label. There's not enough. So you have to be not just different, Dave. You have to be significantly different. You can't just have a value differential. You have to have a significant value added differential. It can't be slight. It's got to be significant. And if you can, and you have a significant differentiation of most of the competition, you talk about having confidence. Listen, when you know that you're going up to that for sale by owner and you're using a completely different language, than the 4 other people banging on that door, that's confidence as well. You actually feel better. You actually can't wait to do it because you know the reaction of the seller isn't going to be the predicted reaction that you know you're going to have most of the time. So that's part of it. You have to kind of change it up in a big way to make it an experience.
If I can add something to this, I want to talk about
Sure.
differentiation a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about going in with a different manner of speaking. That different manner of speaking is a mindset as well. So you need a different mindset in order to do that. And one of those changes in mindset is don't think about handling objections. Think about what you can do, what you're doing in order to help them do what they got to do. And as you said, it's not necessarily their wants or whatever, their needs and wants, whatever it is. You're going with a different strategy. You're going with something that's completely different. You're talking to them differently. So instead of worrying about, what happens if they say this and what happens if they say that?
Yeah.
Be yourself, be a person.
Well, the thing about the other thing about objections, just to touch on that.
Absolutely.
Objections are such a healthy, good thing. You actually want objections. If you're not getting objections, the chances that you're going to get it is very low. The worst thing you can have in a selling situation is the seller sitting there going, okay, let me think about it. So objections are absolutely mandatory. You should love the objections is the single greatest moment in a selling situation because that's where sellers are really testing you. You think it's, well, I got to answer it correctly. Of course you do, but how you handle the objection. Do you know most real estate agents, when they're challenged on their commission, their body language completely changes. Yep. They get all crimped up. Some people will actually get annoyed and they don't know how to handle it. And listen, if you don't know how to gracefully and professionally and tactically manage these objections with commissions and pricing and all the other things along the way, if your manner to handle them isn't well, forget what comes out of your mouth. It won't even matter because you're already giving the verbal response of how you really feel. So, again, who do I blame? I blame the broker. If you have agents who don't know how to handle commission objections, they don't know how to handle them. They come in constantly. I can't believe I lost it. You know what? How well trained are you on that?
It's like, I believe Chris Voss says in his book, he says 738-55, where it's 7% what you say, 38% how you say it, and 55% is body language, right? So you just said, if you get most agents are going to stiffen up.
Yeah.
And what do you mean? It's too much.
And again, I think all of them, I think what you say is critical, how you say it is critical, how you respond to they're all, to me, have equal weight, and I think that, but again, when was the last time you walked into an office, which we haven't done in 23 months, but it doesn't even matter. In fact, these environments have been even better, where you have leadership practicing the listing presentation with their agents, and they're practicing over and over and providing critical response and better and better and better. I got to tell you, I work with agents who make monster money, huge dollars. And do you know what they do every week, Dave? They practice their listing presentation with me. The best in the world never abandons the fundamentals, right? And we have to keep making sure that the fundamentals of what we do never get old and stale. And so you have to be there. So if the top 5% practices their listing presentation from A to Z all the way through with mentors around them or coaches or advisors who actually play the role of a difficult seller and how you manage it, why wouldn't somebody with 1 year in the business who's never done, I'm saying, like the pushback on, now is that accountability? Totally.
Right. And I'm going to do a shameless plug. Every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern, I do a 2-hour session on scripts and dialogues. Bring me your problems and we'll role play it out. Right. Every Wednesday, 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but that's right. I always use the example. Yeah. I say a couple of things. Number one, I talk about, I'm very well connected with a lot of top agents. Dan Beer, the #1 team in San Diego County, $550 million this year. Kyle Whistle, same thing. Chauncey Pham in Texas. All these people that are doing great numbers, what do they do every day? They still practice. They're still practicing. And the great thing about these people is they will come to you and they will talk to you and help you with whatever thing you got. So, and I always use this. I said, you know what? Pick a sport. Pick any sport. Pick your favorite entertainer. What are they doing every day? They're practicing. Okay, so I'll use Derek Jeter, right? One of my favorite Yankees. I'm a big Yankee fan. Mickey Mantle, #1, though. What did he do before every game? He practiced. What did he do before every playoff game? He practiced. What did he do before Game 7 of the World Series? He practiced, right? You never stop. One of the best players in the game ever never stopped practicing. So tell me, how do you think you can go out, do a listing presentation when it's going to be the first time, the 10th time, the 20th time, and you're in your second year of business and you've only done it 20 times?
If that. Absolutely. And what critiques have you emerged out of those 20 times, and what have you learned? And so, again, there's all kinds of, you talk about different brokerages that, do things differently. And, there are new models coming out there that, or new interaction between the broker and agent. I mean, there are some, they're not allowed to speak to a client for 90 days until they complete their entire internal training with the firm. I mean, I have such admiration for that. Now they say this, oh, I want, we put people right on the phone right away. I mean, they demand it. You have to, then you have to, it's not an option. You must mentor with people in the field. You must come, even as an observation, to different listing. You must observe 5 listing appointments being done where you sit there as an observer to experienced people and you sit there, nothing, and if you don't go, guess what? Can't do business. So this is the change that I see. And I think that, again, if you're a broker and you have this, agents can do whatever they want, they're independent contractors. If that's your mindset, you're going to get exactly what you have created. But if you create much more for it, in fact, broker relevancy has declined, right? I mean, all the tools and services that brokers have been able to give people, agents can get them for less money, free. It's very easy, right? And so, where is the broker relevancy today? What is the broker's relevance to an agent? Other than providing you with tools and CRMs and transaction management systems and good platforms and help when you need it. What is the relevancy? And I think it's creating a new dynamic with your agent where you really set them up on a path of activities in order to ensure as much as you can, or raise the probabilities that the experience that you're going to give sellers and buyers is going to be not satisfactory, but exceptional. That is the benchmark. I ask most people, is your goal to have satisfied customers? They all say yes. And I'm like, really? That's your bar, is satisfaction? How about thrilled?
That's right. I actually did a video and talked about that yesterday. Do you really want to be satisfied, or you want to be more than satisfied?
Right.
So we talk about, we talked about, it's basically the broker fault of the way the agent is today. We talked about, the maybe I think one of the things you may have been talking about, or I'm going to talk about it now, is there's no barrier to this business of coming into this business.
Right.
And, like if you look at the appraisal, I can only speak for New Jersey. So when the appraiser comes in, he's got to do so much apprenticeship before he can actually do stuff on his own. Do you think it's the barrier to the business that hurts us, that there is really not much?
I think that's often, I do think there is almost no barrier to get into the real estate business. You need more training to cut hair than you do to sell houses. Not that cutting hair isn't important, and I wish I could speak of a frequent purveyor of haircuts these days, but the idea is that you don't need the same level. So the barrier is low, but even with a low barrier, nobody points the gun to head to a broker and says, you must accept this behavior, you must accept this way of doing business. I mean, when you have sales meetings and people don't show up for them, don't get mad at the agents. That you created that environment. That is exactly the way you want it to be. Because if you don't want it to be that way, then you can change it. And if you don't have people that want to participate, then you got to purge them. Then you got to purge them out. So
are you saying that brokers that allow this behavior, if they want to make a change, they've got to purge the issue?
You know what? Invest your time, money, and resources in those that are going to be all in. And when I mean all in, I mean all in mentally. To me, part-time, full-time, to me, you either have a part-time or full-time mentality. There are agents who work 6 hours a week and somehow manage to be very efficient and effective. And then there's agents that work 60 hours a week and they do nothing. So, I think it's getting your team to be all in. They got to treat their career as any other career. If you have a meeting with your boss, you just don't blow it off. If you have to invoke a new solution, you have to do it. You have to create it in a way that allows them to really run a professional business, a professional way. Again, the defaulting answer has always been they're independent contractors. I can't tell them what to do, and nothing can be further from the truth. You can tell them what to do. If I'm an independent contractor and I want to walk through the office spewing profanities and throwing eggs at people, you can tell your agent not to do that. All right. So there's lots of things that we can tell agents to do, and we should do them. Nothing breaches the independent contractor relationship because you're putting forth a standardization, a standard of how you want to operate as a company and as individuals.
So let me ask you this question. Is the business model old, new, whatever? Is it broken?
I think there's lots of broken areas of it. Yeah, I think even with the new models, one of my criticisms with a lot of the new models, one of the good things about the new models is that they're giving agents autonomy, right? The days of brokers, controlling your commission decisions on how you want to do splits, and that's been very much part of the industry, and I think a lot of the new models are giving a lot of autonomy to agents. So if an agent wants to go out there and kind of create whatever business pricing they want to or how they want to do it, as long as it's legal, they're giving this autonomy away, which I think in some respects is a good thing. But on the other side of it, there's really no watching of what they're doing from a quality standpoint, from a delivery standpoint.
I agree.
So I think that I think that much of the traditional business is completely broken. I think there's tremendous dysfunction between brokers and agents and lenders and companies, and it's all very, very broken in a lot of respects. The good news is, because I'm a positive guy, I don't want to make this a negative thing. The good news is that if you are a person who wants to get into this business, whether you have 30 seconds of experience or 30 years, you can take advantage and you can really rocket ship yourself right away if you do things, again, different and you understand it. And the good news is most of your competition is still doing it the old way, because that's what's coming down from the top. And that's the good news, is that it really is, I think, as great a business as it's always been. You just have to kind of not fall into the way we've done it way of thinking, and operate in a different mindset.
Yeah, and I want to caution people, agents out there, and when they hear someone talking about, yeah, we're making changes, and then when the next answer out of somebody's mouth is, okay, but that's different than how we've done it all along. So changes, but that's different. That means they're doing things the same way. Yeah. It's not and that's what differentiation is all about, and actually been the tone of this entire conversation we've been having. So I agree with you. I believe that the brokerage models are broken, and also the franchise models are broken, right? Because the brokerage models are built from the franchise because they're basically told what to do. The franchise doesn't have the guts to tell the brokerage how to run their business. They just say, oh, no, we're a different kind of franchise company. We can't do it that way. I've heard that from the brokers, from the franchise system that I was involved with for 21 years, that they couldn't tell their franchisees what to do and how to run their business.
And remember, that was, again, and I know your history, Dave, and mine. I mean, this, remember, technology, like everything, changes businesses, and technology and, but the real estate business is very unique because you've got a trade association with a lot of power. You've got the board of realtors. You've got a lot of elements to our industry. It's not like selling, water bottles or selling things. I mean, we have licensing barriers. There's a lot of intricacies that just don't make it that easy for change. And remember, every time somebody new comes on the landscape, there's anyone that threatens everybody. I mean, we all know the Zillow story. Zillow was Satan, years and years and years ago. And then slowly, and what did Zillow do? Zillow said, listen, as long as we keep being relevant to consumers, our value will rise. And they provided data, right? I mean, you had Realtor.com, you had Zillow, and Zillow leaped up. I mean, how did it happen? It happened because Zillow said, listen, let's just keep putting more and more and better things in front of consumers. And that will get us more traffic on our highway. And it did.
Yeah. I want to go one step further, and my attempt to piss other people off is that I believe that the trade associations suck. I think at the top level, they're really good and they really do really great things for the real estate industry. But I believe in the local areas, you know what? I don't see any innovation. I don't see any differentiation. It's business the way it's been done for years and years and years. And, I just don't see it there. And what I do see is that the bigger they get, the less and less people show up at these trade associations and at the local boards. I think that's a shame. And I think it's unfortunately, I don't know how to change it because you know what? I'm only one person.
Listen, you know what, Dave, you won't change it. I won't change it. What'll change it is the consumer. The consumer always ends up being the changer of force, and again, like brokerage models can become antique, certain aspects of our business can become antiquated as well. And ultimately, and listen, we've seen around the country, we've seen, MLSs merge, which is often code for one's closing, right? Or boards merge, sometimes they're merging because they lack participation. So they have to merge. It's not like they're merging like good things. It's like they have to. So, this will continue. And again, I think that, we can have, hours and hours conversation on the macro level. Right. But I think, in terms of what you're trying to do, which is great, I think that you got to make it at the agent level. And I think agents, the good news is you have the tools available to you at your fingertips. And if you can plug yourself into the right environment, I was listening to a really good thing the other day, and it really kind of had an impact because I myself continue to try to improve on what I do. And so I stay relevant and I keep myself at the edge. And I was listening to this guy, and it was such a great thing. He said, environment will overcome intent every time, right?
You mean like that?
You have the intention. What was that?
You don't see what you see on your screen right now? What's it say?
Environment always wins. It always wins. And so there's so many that have the good intent. They have the rah-rah, this and that. But you got to put yourself in an environment where there is this different way to operate in our business. If you really take apart every aspect of what we do as real estate agents every day and completely analyze each component and what can we do to make it better, improve it, I think that's the first step. First, it's the acknowledgement on an individual basis that you want to do it better. And I think brokers that reach that point, brokers who say, you know what, I've been doing it this way for 20 years. I want to change. I want to evolve. You know what? Those are the brokers that I've seen in the past 5 years who have crushed it. The ones who've resisted it and they feel that praying for the demise of a competitor is a business strategy. Those are the ones who usually end up evaporating. They keep telling you, oh, they're going out of business. They're going out of business. I mean, I know that you're with EXP. Do you know how many times over the years, Dave? I mean, they've been around for 10 years. I cannot tell you every year, oh, they're never going to make it. EXP, nobody wants virtual. Nobody wants this. No, listen, I work with all the brands, so I'm not being partial. I'm just telling you. All they were doing was predicting the demise as the evolution. So, that's, again, predicting the demise of your competitor or talking about your sales meetings is not a strategy. It is desperation.
So just I want to just wrap this up because we're on the hour, and
sure.
I want to talk about it. Just briefly surmise. We talked about that the agents need to bring the consumer more into their marketing, into their strategies, as far as making the consumer, how they've helped their consumer more of the story than them. The other thing you talked about, which is like so freaking cool, is net dollar specialization. What are you going to do to have a net dollar strategy for your agent? We're talking about how much money you're walking away with. And actually, when the agent does this, the actual agent, in my opinion, will also have a net dollar strategy for their own business. It's not what
that's a whole nother conversation, and I completely agree with you.
Exactly, right? So the whole thing is that these are really great topics, and I urge everyone to reach out to Scott, and we've got his number and his email address scrolling there. Scott, what is the best way for people to connect with you so they can get your help?
Well, again, if you're a firm that's looking to really be introspective and look, in my view, for relevancy in the market, relevancy with agents, and relevancy with clients and consumers and sellers, predominantly buyers as well, of course. I'm happy to evaluate. I work a little bit differently in the marketplace, Dave. I look at what I do with each one of my clients as a partnership, and it's important to me that there really be a lot of analysis. I'm probably one of the only guys out there who I spend so much time with a potential client before we actually move forward, because I've got to make sure that I'm the right fit. I'm I'm different. I can't get you to do different if you don't have different. So I'm different. And it's important to me that I do the right proper assessment and proper evaluation, so I ensure that I'm the right solution. And I'm for those people that want to really no longer wake up every day and be like, ugh, I got to go out there and fight. It's waking up excited because you know that what you're delivering to people is a much different experience than what they can get there from other people.
So I have your website on the board there.
Yeah.
I'm also going to flash again your phone number and your email address. Hope that's okay, because that's on your site.
Sure.
Look, I have to ask you a couple of more questions. What is one thing an agent can do right away to help improve their business?
I think it's the first thing they can do is make much more of a dedication to get listings. The industry is changing. More and more buyers are going directly to listing agents. I think they have to make a conscious decision to build their own strategy on how they're going to acquire listings outside their sphere of influence. Sphere of influence marketing is one thing. I'm into more outside your sphere. Every opportunity outside your sphere, from FSBOs to expireds to homeowners that you don't know, absentee owners that rent, short sales, all of that non-sphere listing opportunity, you've got to make a absolute commitment to go in that direction. I think that is crucial for your business going forward.
So, okay, I have two other things. One is a question and the other is a statement. There's a question I ask everybody on this broadcast at the end. How can I, Dave Finale, real estate skill builder, help Scott Einbinder grow your business? How can I help you grow your business?
The way you can help me grow my business, Dave, is to continue to spread your message of what you're trying to spread about doing it better. You know what I'm saying? I think that your work here is to try to up the game of the business. You're unique, and you're like me to some extent. We've been around for a while, but we're leaning on the progressive side of the curve. And I think that helps everybody. And if you do that, then I think that does help my business, Dave. And that would be something that I would ask you to continue to promote doing.
Man, we've known each other a number of years, and we've talked, time to time, and we're really on the same page. And and I know you know that. And you've been great for me. Anytime I've called, you've picked up the phone. I sincerely appreciate that. But I do know that there's a lot of reasons, we know each other. You came on the broadcast, but I knew this is the main reason was to come on to get a hat. Right.
Absolutely.
So, and this hat's going to go out to you. Everybody that goes on a broadcast gets a hat, and hopefully the post office system will work. I just got a package back that I mailed out on January 9th. It was returned to me on October 20th, undeliverable. So it took a few months, but they finally did get it back to me. So I actually called that guest. He said, "Dave, I thought you forgot about me." Anyway, man, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
It was a pleasure, Dave. Always a pleasure.
We've got next week was number 177. We got Michelle Berman, who is the founder and the author and the coach at the Instagram Power Method. What a great powerhouse she is. She's going to be great next week. And Scott Einbinder this week. Scott, stay on for a minute. We're going to go out. Thanks so much for being on today. And we're going to go out really quickly. And thank you, everyone, for being on today and watching.